Welcome into your week one starts and sits. We're going to go over the best quarterbacks, running backs, wide receivers, and tight ends. I'm also going to give you my kicker of the week and my sleeper start of the week, someone who's on benches in a lot of leagues that I think could return top 24 value. As we get into it, make sure you hit that subscribe button. It is a huge support for a new YouTube channel like this one. And let's get to our first quarterback. Start Brock Purdy. I know there's a couple injuries on this 49ers team, but you've got Christian McCaffrey back, and that is huge for this offense. He helps them move a lot better on the ground and a lot better through the air. Plus, he's got George Kittle and Ricky Pearsall at least in the pass game to help him get some of those passing touchdowns. Brock Purdy is an amazing start for week one. Sit Jordan Love. He is a solid quarterback for this season, but week one, I'm expecting a lot of Josh Jacobs. Plus, he does have a tough matchup against the Lions. Last year, the Lions were decimated with injury. Now they're returning a much healthier team, and that may be some trouble for Jordan Love in this first game. But I'm going to start Caleb Williams. I know he's also facing a tough matchup, but Ben Johnson joining this team cannot be understated. It is a huge improvement. They weren't even helping Caleb Williams watch film last year. He just got such a huge upgrade to this offense, as well as a better offensive line, and they added Colston Loveland. They added Luther Burden. They have a lot more offensive weapons as well, so I still think he's a solid start week one, even with a tougher matchup. I'm going to sit Justin Herbert, though. Very, very tough matchup against the Chiefs. Plus, the Chargers love to run the football. The Chiefs love to run the football, which, of course, runs clock out in this game. Plus, Omarion Hampton could be a touchdown stealing guy for the Chargers. I do like Omarion Hampton this week, and Justin Herbert did say he wants to run more, but I'd like to see him prove that before I start him over some other players that you probably drafted sooner in your draft. So unless you're in a 16-man league, let's see how much he runs before we plug him into starting lineups. On to the running backs, and we need to start David Montgomery. I want to go right to the game log here and look at how good he was when he's healthy. This is the Walter Picks app, which you guys can get a free trial to in my profile here. You can see week one, 16 points, 17 points, 21 points, 15 points, 21 points. He is consistently a great fantasy football option when he's healthy. And right now, he is healthy, and they're facing the Packers week one. Their defense is going to be pretty solid. If Micah Parsons does play, they're definitely going to want to be running the football, and they can run away from Micah Parsons, keep Jordan Love safe, making David Montgomery a great start for week one. But I'm going to sit Jaylen Warren. This is the Steelers jersey right here. I think Jaylen Warren is a solid running back, and he did get a contract, but it wasn't a huge contract. But good for him getting paid as a late round, as I think undrafted to the Steelers, so great job to him. But honestly, I'm worried about Caleb Johnson. Caleb Johnson is the bigger back. Caleb Johnson is probably the better red zone back as well. So while Jaylen Warren, he may have a little bit more carries to start the season than Caleb Johnson, he's still a big risk, especially against a Jets team. This is supposed to be one of the lowest scoring games of the week. So I'm not really interested in too many options in this entire game. I am going to start Tony Pollard, though, especially with Tajay Spears hurt. So while Jaylen Warren is sharing touches with Caleb Johnson, maybe even with Kenneth Gainwell, Tony Pollard has the entire backfield to himself. And I know he's got a tough matchup against Denver, but for Cam Ward, Tony Pollard is going to be the easiest target on the field. So I do like Pollard. He was solid last season. He was a top 24 RB. You can see the Walter Picks app here, 13 points per game. He didn't score a lot of rushing touchdowns, 2.1% rushing touchdown rate. So that's not going to be required for him to be a good start this week. And I really especially like him in that PPR format, being a top target for Cam Ward. And I'm going to sit Isaiah Pacheco if you can. You know, he had that big injury last season, which made him incredibly inefficient. You look at his fantasy points per game last season, 8.1. His rush year, 24th in the league. Yards per carry, 3.7. This guy was just not good after the injury. And I love Pacheco. I've had him since his rookie season. We literally won leagues his rookie season, taking him with our last pick in the draft. We knew he was going to be good. We knew to grab him out of drafts, but that injury was huge. And they brought in Brashard Smith, good pass catcher. They still have Kareem Hunt, and Hunt and Pacheco pretty much split carries in the preseason when the ones were on the field. And Hunt also got the first crack at the end zone. So that's something to watch out for in this game. Chargers defense is pretty solid. So I would sit Pacheco week one, especially since I know you have healthy options. Since it's week one, that you could start over him just to see how he looks in this first game before we trust him in our lineups. On the wide receiver front, Jerry Jeudy is an amazing start this week. Of course, he's got that great matchup against the Bengals. I'm going to head into his game log. And you see at the start of the season, he just wasn't that good. He had Deshaun Watson as his quarterback. But as soon as he got a quarterback that could actually be successful throwing the football, he was amazing for fantasy football. He was wide receiver 5, wide receiver 19, wide receiver 1, wide receiver 19, wide receiver 11. He's a top-tier guy when he does have a good quarterback. In week one, he's got Joe Flacco plus this matchup against the Bengals, which I absolutely love. The Bengals, they should be scoring a lot of points as well. Love pretty much everybody on their offense. And Jerry Jeudy, he's going to benefit as well in a high-scoring, high pass volume game. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if Joe Flacco threw 40 passes in this game, meaning Judy, we could see targets in the teens, and that makes him a must start for fantasy football. I'm going to sit Rome Odunze. I know a lot of people are excited about him, but we look into the Walter Picks app here, which you can get in the profile with code NOBS. You'll see 8.8 points per game last season. His target share, 46th in the league last year. His touchdown rate, 71st. Just not a top-tier option last season. We'll go into his game log. You can see that average points per game was really brought up by a few games. 23 points in week 3, 15 points in week 9, and 20 points in week 14. Those were the only games plus one week in week 11 that he actually scored over 10 fantasy points. So let's wait and see. He's an exciting option. Lots of upside. Love Ben Johnson. Love Caleb Williams as well. But Caleb Williams has so many weapons. That makes him a great start. I like DeAndre Swift as well because he doesn't have a ton of competition. Rome Odunze does have a lot of competition, so I'd like to leave him on our bench this week. Definitely starting Emeka Egbuka. And I'll throw Pearsall in here as well because both those guys are amazing starts this week. They just have huge opportunity with injuries on their team. Egbuka, he's got Chris Godwin out. Jalen McMillan is out. Cade Otton is dealing with an injury. He's questionable right now. So there's going to be huge target share in a shootout with the Falcons. And then on the 49ers side, Pearsall, bonus start here. He's got that great matchup with Juwan Jennings, may or may not play. He's going to be that wide receiver one. And like we talked about earlier, love Purdy, love CMC. This offense is going to move really well. So Pearsall's a great start too. My sit of the week is in the wide receivers and is Calvin Ridley. I love this guy for fantasy football. You can see last season, he almost scored 12 points a game, and he got a major upgrade with Cam Ward at quarterback. But this week, he's facing Pat Surtain. And it doesn't matter who faces Pat Surtain, whether it was Mike Evans, Garrett Wilson, DK Metcalf last season, or even other great players. They just were simply not good for fantasy football. That's why he was the defensive player of the year. We got rookie quarterback Cam Ward. We got Calvin Ridley covered by Pat Surtain. This is a recipe for disaster. You have to leave him on your bench just for week 1. For the tight ends, I love Tyler Warren. The main reason here is that he is the safety valve for Daniel Jones. I think he's going to be a great option, see plenty of volume. Plus, he's got a little bit of rushing upside. He could be the tush-push guy for this team. He could take a carry in the red zone. They're really going to be looking to get him the ball. Remember, he was a high draft pick for the Colts. They're going to be using him early and often. Again, especially with Daniel Jones at quarterback. I know it sounds crazy, but that is an upgrade for this Colts team. So really like Warren in that starting spot in his first ever game. But I'm going to sit Evan Engram, a guy I really like for fantasy football as well. You'll see he definitely had some good games when he had good volume. He needs like 10 targets, 8, 9, 10 targets to be great. And he could get that with the Broncos this season. But I'll click back into his profile here. You can see the tight end touchdown rate, 37th for tight ends. That's just awful. He just doesn't score a lot of touchdowns. And in this game against the Titans, the Broncos are supposed to win. They're supposed to win by a lot, which could lead to a lot of running the football. So I like RJ Harvey. I like J.K. Dobbins in bigger leagues. But Evan Engram, if there's not going to be a lot of pass volume, he's probably not going to be mega startable for this team. So I'm going to leave him on my bench week 1 and see what his role is with this new offense. And I like Tucker Kraft as a start this week. This is probably a little bit more in your deeper leagues where you don't have someone like Mark Andrews or Travis Kelce. I like Tucker Kraft. Jaden Reed, he's hurt. He's got a broken foot. He's going to play through it, but he may not be at 100% strength. So Tucker Kraft is really maybe the second option for this team, especially in the red zone. You've got Josh Jacobs. Tucker Kraft is great in the red zone as well. And we'll go into his advanced game logs here. And I got to show you his yards after the catch here. We'll look at his yards after the catch here. His snap percentage is amazing. Target share, target per route run is amazing. His yards per route run and his yards after the catch was fifth per game. Even though he wasn't getting insane volume, he was still 5th in yards after the catch. That's why I love these advanced game logs in the Walter Picks app, which you get in my profile with code NOBS, because they give you some extra context. And he was just so good last season in yards after the catch. The Packers will be using him heavily this year, especially with all the injuries they have in the wide receiver room. So I do like Tucker Kraft, especially in a little bit deeper leagues, as a solid tight end start this week. And speaking of kind of riskier guys, I am going to sit Kyle Pitts for week 1. I do like him for the season. I really do. He's got that new quarterback. I think he was a worthwhile pick in drafts. But week 1, I think you probably have some other options like Jake Ferguson, Tucker Kraft, Colson Loveland, Tyler Warren that you could plug in for week 1 while we find out what Kyle Pitts' role will be in this Falcons offense. Now it's time for my kicker of the week, and it's going to be Cam Little, the guy that hit the 70-yard field goal in the preseason. It's not just because of that, even though that is an amazing stat. Love that they're going to use him from range, but also the matchup. Playing against the Panthers week 1, the Jaguars should have plenty of opportunity to score. Could be a high-scoring game, not the best defenses. So that could lead to a lot of opportunity for Cam Little to kick a lot of field goals, and they're going to trust him from distance. That's going to open up the range as well. And if it's a high-scoring game, you'll have those extra points, and you will have some field goals for some good, safe starts. So I do like him week 1. That is my kicker of the week. Now, my sleeper start of the week. And make sure you guys hit that subscribe button if you do want to see content like this every week. Again, it is a huge support. And I've got Keenan Allen. He's back with the Chargers, and I absolutely love that. Last season, he was wide receiver 32. He had some good games. Wide receiver 7 in target share, and especially towards the end of the season, you can see 23 points, 24 points, 20 points, almost 30 points. Keenan Allen, I think, will crush this season for the Chargers. Absolutely love him. So if you do have him on your team, he could be a good flex this week. You probably have some other players. Everybody's healthy right now, so he may not break the starting lineup. But if you're in a bigger league or you do have some question marks at that wide receiver position, I think Keenan Allen is a great play.